The Earth once had a summer that lasted 10 million years. It sounds great, right? But this summer killed two entire species. The dominant species in the sea for 150 million years was wiped out from the Earth. The sea temperature soared to 40 degrees, as hot as your bathwater. There was no ice in Antarctica. Walking on it is like strolling in a Swiss park. On the land, an 80-ton monster is growing wildly, which is equivalent to 2 tanks stuffed into a living thing. When it steps down, the ground will shake. What's more outrageous is that this 1 million year heat wave is not the problem of the sun, but the birth of an ocean, turning the entire Earth into a pressure cooker. This ocean is the one you can see on the map every day. The Atlantic Ocean today is over 4,800 kilometers, covering 17% of the Earth's surface, but 180 million years ago, it didn't exist at all. At that time, there was only one supercontinent, Pangaea. All the land was squeezed together like a huge jigsaw puzzle, but this puzzle was torn apart. About 100 million years ago, Africa and South America began to split apart, and Europe and North America began to separate. The rift grew wider, and the seawater rushed in, and the Atlantic Ocean was born. But the problem is that the birth of an ocean is far from as gentle as you think. The crack tore apart the crust, magma gushed out from the ground, underwater volcanoes erupted wildly. How large was the scale? Scientists estimate that the amount of carbon dioxide released from the seafloor is more than all the volcanoes in the world today, several times more violent. The concentration of CO2 in the atmosphere soared, and it may have exceeded 2,000 parts per million, which is 7 times higher than before the Industrial Revolution. You may think this is just a number. Let me put it another way. This means that every breath you take, the concentration of greenhouse gases in it is 7 times higher than now. But that's not all. The sea level has also started to rise sharply. The sea level is 300 meters higher than today, even higher than the Eiffel Tower. If the same thing happened today, Shanghai, New York, Tokyo, and London would all sink to the sea. The map of the Earth at that time would be completely different from what you know. Africa was cut into several pieces, North America was split in 2 by a huge inland sea, South America was like an isolated island. Scientists called this period the Broken Earth. But the real horror had just begun. When the concentration of CO2 exceeded the limit, a chain reaction was triggered. The atmosphere became a thick layer of insulation. Heat could not get out. The ocean circulation became sluggish, just like a pot of water, which was originally flowing to dissipate heat, but now it suddenly stops. All the heat was trapped inside. So the Earth officially entered what scientists called the Cretaceous, the Thermal Maximum period. It started about 94 million years ago. This is the longest and hottest summer in Earth's history. How hot is it? The average water temperature in the mid-latitudes reached 38 degrees. The hottest places were close to 40 degrees. Note that this is the average temperature. Today, the water temperature at tropical beaches is 25 to 28 degrees. If you put your hand in at 38 degrees, it feels like taking a hot shower. On the land near the equator, during the day, the surface temperature might remain above 50 degrees for a long time. You'll get heat stroke after standing 10 minutes, and standing for an hour might cause dehydration and death. The Antarctic is 17 degrees warmer than now, without an ice sheet. Instead, there are dense forests. But don't think it's romantic. With forests, there are creatures, and with creatures, there are predators. In that era, Antarctica, there lived dinosaurs. Well, the land is incredibly hot. What about the sea? Can you jump in to cool off? The answer is it's better to stay ashore. This high temperature that lasted for 10 million years for marine life was a disaster. The first to be wiped out was the Ichthyosaur. They look like dolphins but have no kinship with dolphins. They lived from the Triassic to the Cretaceous, dominating the ocean for 150 million years. They were as long as whales. They were highly efficient predators in the sea. But the heat wave of 10 million years completely disrupted the marine environment. The water temperature was too high, oxygen levels plummeted, the food chain collapsed. This high temperature became the last straw that broke them. By the end of the heat wave, there was no Ichthyosaur left on the Earth. The second to fall was the Plesiosaur. These guys were even more terrifying. They were in the Cretaceous Ocean, undisputed top predators. Their bodies were like small boats, with their heads taking up a quarter of their body. Their mouths were full of the most ferocious teeth in the sea. Anything they bit had little chance of survival. They even suppressed sharks for 10 million years, keeping sharks in that era from raising their head. But plesiosaurs couldn't survive this summer. The marine ecosystem was reshaped by the heat. The food chain on which they relied collapsed, plus the extinction of their main prey, Ichthyosaurs, and plesiosaurs followed the same path. Two overlords who ruled the ocean for hundreds of millions of years both fell in front of the same enemy.
Hot. But the strange thing about the story is that the extinction of one group often marks the beginning of the rise of another group. After the extinction of ichthyosaurs and plesiosaurs, there was a sudden power vacuum in the ocean. And in this vacuum, two groups quietly rose. The first is sharks. During the reign of plesiosaurs, sharks were always suppressed. But when plesiosaurs were extinct, sharks finally turned the tables. Their size began to grow rapidly, and large species like Carcharodon carcharias appeared. 5.5 meters long, almost as big as great white sharks. They were the first batch of sharks in the Cretaceous top predator throne. But this is not the largest. At the same time, there was a shark called Pretotoxyrhinus, which may be over 11 meters long, larger than whale sharks. It has blade-like teeth in its mouth, with disproportionately large heads. Scientists found in its fossil stomach found turtle remains, and even the turtle shells were bitten and swallowed. The second group that rose to fame is the Thalassaur. Yes, the kind you've seen in documentaries. The time when they really rose happened to be during the Cretaceous Thermal Maximum. At first, they were not big. Some were only 1 or 2 meters long. But the evolution of the Mosasaur was astonishing. In just a few million years, their size increased several times. The earliest large predator was the Mosasaur, which was about 7 meters at this time, which could hunt prey much larger than itself. Later, its descendants grew to nearly 14 meters, became one of the most terrifying marine predators. So you see, the sea is not safe. It's just that a new batch of predators emerged. What about on land? If the ocean is a story of extinction and rise, then the land is a word big. High temperatures bring higher CO2 concentrations. Higher CO2 makes plants grow wildly. The plant grows wildly, which means that herbivores can grow bigger. Once the herbivores grow bigger, carnivores have to grow bigger too, otherwise they can't bite. So in this 10 million year summer, there was an arms race on the land of the earth. South America is the main battlefield. On this continent, isolated by the sea, sauropods grew wildly, eventually giving birth to the largest land animal known, Argentinosaurus. Adult length 36 meters, weighing 80 tons. If you stack 6 brontosaurs together, is only as heavy as one Argentinosaurus. When a group of Argentinosaurus walks by, the earth will tremble like an earthquake. And, with such a large prey, predators would not be polite. In South America at the same time, there were at least 3 large carnivorous dinosaurs weighing over 4 tons existed simultaneously. Maposaurus, Malarguesaurus, and Tarchia. All belong to the family Ceratosauria, with highly serrated edges on their teeth. The wound caused by a bite would bleed heavily. The prey would slowly fall to the ground from blood loss. Maposaurus and Tarchia may weigh nearly 6 tons, over 12 meters long. There is fossil evidence that they may have hunted in groups. A group of 12-meter-long predators hunting a 36-meter giant beast. Just thinking about this picture makes one's scalp tingle. But the nightmare in South America is not over yet. There is also a 6-meter-long giant theropod, Ionoraptor. It has huge hook claws on its front paws. It hunted by directly skewering prey with its claws, just like eating kebabs. In the North Hemisphere, the story takes a different turn. Asia became another center of species explosion. The most outrageous product is Gigantopithecus, 8 meters long, 3.5 meters tall, and 8 tons heavy. You can think of it as an 8 times enlarged ostrich, but much more ferocious than ostriches. It has the deepest beak in its kind and the sharpest beak edges. Scientists think it was an omnivore. It ate everything, including plants, small dinosaur eggs, and corpses. In Asia during the same period, there were also many ankylosaurs, ceratopsians, and hadrosaurs. The diversity of dinosaurs rose instead of falling, reaching a new peak. But there was one dinosaur that was still small in this summer, and unremarkable: Tyrannosaurus. The Tyrannosaurus rex family that ruled the end of Cretaceous during this hot summer were just a group of small predators, quietly living in the shadow of giant Carcharodontosaurus and giant Oviraptorosaurus. No one expected, in tens of millions of years, it was these inconspicuous little guys who would reach the top of terrestrial food chain. So you see, this 10-million-year summer was not just a high-temperature event. It reshaped the power structure of the ocean, gave birth to the largest land creature, eliminated the old overlords of hundreds of millions of years, and supported a new force to rise. It changed the direction of dinosaur evolution, and even indirectly determined later who would become the master of the Earth. So, next time when you can't stand the heat in summer, think about the dinosaurs 100 million years ago. Their summers lasted for a full 10 million years, and that summer changed everything.